Alright, welcome back to Nature Yourself. Today we're going to utilize one of the main principles of permaculture, and that is observe and interact. A lot of people tend to, when they start their gardens in the year, they tend to decimate everything, meaning till the land, replace everything that's already there with other things. And one thing that people definitely don't necessarily like to have around are jagger bushes, as we often call them in Pittsburgh. But a lot of jagger bushes, before you tear them out, they can be beneficial to your garden in a couple different ways. But the main reason I'm going to talk about is they could be black raspberries. And I don't know about you, but black raspberries are definitely one of my favorite things to eat and to pick. There's a certain reward that comes with going through the jaggers and getting a little bloody to earn your black raspberries. So I happen to have one right behind where the camera's sitting there that's right on my front porch basically. And it can be a pain in the butt sometimes, but for the most part it's awesome. I get to walk right out the front door and get some black raspberries, which is great. All, throughout the middle of the summer when not much else is popping up, those things are doing really well, so it's really great. So what I'm doing right now is I am building a small trellis out of some stuff that I already have. This pallet thing here I got for free, and I'm just using some twine here, tying some square knots so that they're easy to undo if I ever want to, or if it's not working. But basically, what I want you to think about is, as you're going through starting your garden this year or whatever you're doing in your life, observe first and try to interact with what's already there, because you might be missing out on a good opportunity of something that might be easier than, say, I mentioned to you guys that I'm going to be planting some blueberry bushes this year, but the fact of the matter is with the blueberry bushes is I'm not going to get any fruit for 2, maybe 3 years out of the ones I'm going to plant. So what can I do now to obtain a yield, which is another permaculture principle that we'll talk about later in the year. So what I figured is, well, I have this bush. If I build a small trellis in a spot where it'll climb up it a little bit, hopefully I'll obtain a little bit more of a yield and have better luck than I did last year. And even last year, it did great, regardless of what I did. I even trimmed it a fair amount because it was just encroaching on the porch a little bit too much. But it still did great, and I'm excited to see what it does this year. Hopefully we have a good spring. We're getting some rain today, so that's definitely a good thing. Better than coldy snow, which we weren't sure we were going to get or not. So that's going to be that for the trellis. Basically, I'll probably have to tighten these at some point, but the hope is that the black raspberries climb up this a little bit closer to the house, stay out of the yard, because if they creep out into the yard and onto the porch, I end up having to trim them too much. So that makes me lose a little bit of a yield, and a lot of people will tell you to prune different plants, and although that is important in some cases, always remember that the more you prune, the more you're going to need to prune in the future. You're kind of training your plants to depend on you, and I'm trying to figure out how I can go against that grain and go a little bit more in the groove of nature, where nature kind of takes over and everything's a little wild, you're going to have a little bit less of a yield because you're not pruning and keeping your stuff prim and proper, but you're going to have less work in that realm, and you can focus on doing other things, and you can let your stuff go a little bit more wild. And that plays into the food forest idea of permaculture. So we're going to get this installed, and make sure you comment below. Tell me what you're going to do to observe and interact with your local environment, whether that's in your career life, whether that's in your creating your garden, whether that's with your family. Everything you do, you should take the time to really observe before you jump into anything, because you might be missing something that may already be there, or you might be missing something that you're already good at, or anything like that. So thanks for listening in, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.